make a long story short, it's been a great couple of days. There's been a tremendous amount of excitement over where this industry is going. At the same time, it seems to be having a problem communicating what it is, what it must do, and especially some of the most important issues of the day. While the industry in some ways, excuse me, has never been better prepared for 2020 and some of the regulatory issues that are on the horizon, at the same time communicating when, where, how pilots can take advantage of that, especially now with ADS-B 2020, becomes paramount. I'm pleased to bring along one of our A&N experts here, especially in marketing communications. This is Mike Turner. He's been with A&N for, God, way too long now.
And despite that, you're still in business.
I'm telling you, pretty amazing. And what I wanted to do for the first few minutes was have a discussion about the issues that we're seeing right now with a vibrant industry, having dealt with a bad economy, having dealt with significant regulatory oversight, having dealt with all these issues, yet it manages to survive, it manages to innovate, and yet it can't quite communicate. Mm-hmm. Mike, what are you seeing out here that, excuse me, really needs to be improved upon?
One thing is getting your message out. Aviation is a tight community. It's a very local community in a lot of ways, and part of that is because of the regulatory framework. You have to have an AMT or Aviation Maintenance Technician's A&P license. You have to have a pilot's license. You have to have repair station license, all under FAA regulation, and that's a barrier to entry. So, because of this barrier to entry, you have a cozy industry, and which is very nice because everybody knows everyone. But the problem is, you begin to assume that that you do know everybody in it. That when you do announce your product, that the word really is getting out to everyone. That's not necessarily the case. When you broadcast, it's one direction. Mm-hmm. It's just outward. You need that feedback saying, yes, the message has been received. We see that in the Aero-News. It's an issue because we broadcast, but yet we need to get feedback too to see what's going on out there. Well, here we are at a premier trade show for the industry, and what we have as of this morning, 2 or 3 press releases.
At least physical press releases up in the press area.
Say yes. Yeah. Physical press releases.
We got a fair amount more than that by email, but
yes.
Still, comparison to years ago, it's nothing.
Yeah, and everyone now is relying on the internet. Now that's not a bad thing. We're about the internet.
We like the internet.
We love the internet. The internet is us, right? So, but again, you still need to use many of the traditional methods, like the physical press release. Maybe you don't need to do as many as you did, but you still need to have it out there. The press still is covering what's out there, and the internet is another tool, and I think that's kind of the real lesson. In the old days, you had 3 networks of network television. You had the local and national newspapers. You had trade magazines, and along comes the internet, and more outlets explode, more channels for information explode. And yeah, that's more to manage, but it's also more opportunity. And each one of those outlets is a tool in your toolbox to get your message out, to make people aware of your product, why that product is good for them, the typical features and benefits. But even more importantly, as we get more and more technological, as these systems are more and more complex, and they're getting smarter, getting your message out means educating your customer. Mm-hmm. You have to educate them on what this technology is. The features and benefits will fall from that. You don't have to just hit them over the head with it, but communicate, what is it we're doing? Why is our technology good? What does it mean for the end customer, for the end user? So you have this vast tool chest that you can use. Utilize all of them, and don't forget traditional media. They're not dead yet. And remember, the internet yes, you want to use it, but also be cautious. Some outlets are really good, some aren't. You aren't just going to broadcast and the whole world's going to hear you. Everybody else is doing it too. And it's like finding that one drop of water in the ocean. That's really marketing's issue. It's not a needle in the haystack, it's that one drop of water in the ocean.
Okay, so I'm Joe Q, avionics manufacturer, Joe Q avionics shop, Joe Q avionics technician. I'm looking to get my share of business out there. I'm not a PR marketing expert. I don't have the money to go out and hire a big fancy firm or anything else. What should I be doing right now?
The very, very first thing is know who you are and what you do. What are your capabilities? Don't pretend. Don't say, hey, I do A and B, and yeah, I can do C too. No. If you're doing A and B, and this is what you can deliver, good value to your customer, on time, good quality, that's what you do. Now, C is a nice thing to add on. Prepare for it, work at it. So first, know yourself. Second, know your customer. Take some time to know your market. Who are you selling to really? Are you selling to A&Ps? Are you selling to aircraft owners? Are you selling into the biz jet market? Are you selling into the turboprop market? Know your market. Know exactly who and what you're selling to them. Then the biggie is awareness. Make people aware. So if I had an avionics shop and I'm at XYZ Airport, I know most of my business is going to be at XYZ Airport and the surrounding areas, maybe some of the surrounding airports. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, and you can dig this up. There's FAA records, how many planes are in the area. You can look up demographics and say, is this an area where everyone pinches pennies, or is this an area where everybody has so much cash they don't know what to do with it? But you can begin to get a feel. You may not have a precise answer to the 5th decimal place, but you get an idea, and you can say, okay, here's the potential in my market. And if there's 1,500 planes around me that could be using my services, okay. Now the question is, who are they? Find out, and then let them know you're here. Let them know you're here, and let them be aware of you, and then they'll be curious, and then educate them.
One of the things, though, that I hear from a number of folks, well, let me give you the broad look at what we do prior to an AEA event. 90 to 120 days out, we start with our list of the folks that we work with each year. We let them know what's coming up, so forth and so on. We ask them for help. We ask them for imagery, B-roll, descriptions, an idea of what press releases may be coming, so forth and so on. Now, not that often, but often enough, I get this, well, I don't have time for that. And my general response to something like that is, well, you don't have time not to. You can either come to these events and get what you want out of them, or you can be ignored. And it's not a matter of trying to ignore or penalizing anybody. It's just simply that we can't report what we don't know. We cannot show what we cannot see or have not seen. And most important, we cannot intelligently discuss something we've not been briefed on. So it becomes important for people to take a little bit of time, get briefed, reach out to us, help us in any way they can to get, this is a 5 to 10 minute effort in regards to talking to us. Give us a call, tell us what's going on, or for that matter, one of the most intelligent phone calls I've ever gotten have been hey, I've got this happening, is it enough for a press release? Well, of course it is. It's just a matter of how you present it, if it's new to you, if it's important to you. If you think it has an impact out there, yeah, it's a press release, but more important than a quote-unquote press release, tell the story. Who are you? What's going on? Why are you special? What is unique about you? And most important, why are you qualified to expound or undertake the actions that you're talking about? And the funny part is that once it's explained a couple of times, they get it and they get it right. There are a couple of companies out here that are masters of the message. They're very, very good at it. I look in particular at Mid-Continent. Julie Lawrence does such a spectacular job for that company. There are a number of others out there that have done really great work And obviously, you've got the Garmins and the Avidynes and such of the world that know how to communicate. But when you're, when you're Joe ADSB, when you're Joe installer, or whatever the case may be, or Jane installer for that matter, you have something to say, and it doesn't take but 2 minutes to give us a call and ask how to say it. I have no problem working with people like that, because the more we bring them on board with sending the message, the more we can help them craft the message, the more information we have to present to our audience, readers, viewers, and listeners.
One of the most basic human things is to tell a story. Our ancestors handed down information from one generation to the next by telling stories. We still tell stories. The news is stories. You're going to tell someone your story. If you've got an avionics shop, or whether you've got a new ADSB product, you're going to tell your story. Now you may do it here at a trade show, and you may do it at an exhibit, but write it down. Yep. You're already telling the story, so write it down. When you write it down, you can make a press release out of it. You can make advertising collateral out of it, and then just tell your story, what's going on. Now, and you don't have to be, it doesn't have to be Tolstoy or Shakespeare. It's just tell your story, who, what, when, where, why, how. And it's really as simple as that. The thing is, and Dave Franson and I were talking about this yesterday.
Oh, careful. Start talking to Dave Franson, I don't know.
People put out press releases and they think everybody's going to pick it up. Not so. No. Not only do you have to tell your story, but you have to sell, to be really effective, you need to sell people on why they should know your story. So we were talking about how 20 years ago it was a case where, and most people had an ad agency or PR agency, and which isn't so much the case anymore.
No, they're gone by the wayside.
But the PR person, everybody thought, oh, these people are getting paid a lot of money to write, 2 pages of press release. Hey, that was just a tiny bit of what they did. They picked up the phone and they said, hey, Jim, you know what's coming down the pike from...
Built relationships, they communicated, they backgrounded things, they educated.
Yes.
And it became... There's this wonderful story I like to tell. There's a fella out here, I don't want to embarrass him because it's kind of... He's not got the best English, but he's got this phenomenal little wire or cable marking wiring system where they mark it, cut it, so forth and so on. We actually did a video with it a bunch of years ago. And his story and how he developed it and how he brought this to life is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And normally I look at something like this and it just would bore me out of my skull.
Yeah.
But he has a compelling story.
Yes.
He has a compelling product, which is surprisingly useful. But then again, in the world of avionics, marking, labeling, and identifying wiring is a sheer path to making sure you don't wind up with an absolute jumbled mess later on. Fantastic story, and we had the chance to tell it, and all it took was a few minutes of getting to know the guy, getting to know his story, getting to know the background, understanding what it was he had, and the next thing you know, we had a bang-up video of the whole thing. It was great. It worked out tremendously well.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 60th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from New Orleans, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Southeast Aerospace teamed up with Garmin International, Gables Engineering, and Peregrine Avionics to bring the most cost-effective and flexible ADSB solution to the business aviation community. Our Part 25 AML STC is available for non-TCAS 2 Beechjet, Citation, Hawker, Learjet, and Falcon Jet. Visit seaerospace.com for more details.